know, we want to talk about sort of all things basketball. And Caitlin Clark, phenomenal run. Yeah. I saw her the other night, by the way. I saw her the other night in Indy after her, I think it was her second game or third game.
So, Lance, today we're going to be talking about something in the WNBA that we actually have to talk about now after this article got released. So basically, there is an article. It
was the first game against Liberty. They played Liberty Thursday, and they were back here in New York on Saturday. I saw her after the Thursday game, very briefly. And, you know, she was just talking about the quick turnaround, which I find to be insane.
That heavily implies that the Indiana Fever knew that Caitlin Clark they weren't going to let Caitlin Clark come back weeks ago. And because they just strung her along.
The WNBA was intended to be powered by Caitlin Clark. She destroyed TV ratings, lit up stadia, and made the Fever seem like serious contenders. However, everything fell apart quickly when she said she was done for the season. The playoffs started to resemble exhibitions, ratings plummeted by over 70%, and ticket prices went to single digits. The major concern is not only what her injury implies for Indiana, but also for the league as a whole. Could years of momentum be undone by the absence of just one player? Before we continue, I have a little favor for you. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this content. More than 98% of you see the videos without signing up. It doesn't cost you anything, yet it has a big impact on us. Did you press the subscribe button then? Fantastic. Many thanks. Let's return to the video now. Consider this. When one player is injured, the league's overall numbers abruptly plummet. If Mahomes is injured in the NFL, you don't see that. Furthermore, LeBron missing games is not tolerated in the NBA. However, that happened right in front of us in the WNBA. Second, the court no longer had Caitlin Clark. The ratings really crashed, not just dropped a little. What ought to have been a formidable playoff run instead became a test of the league's viability. Clark had been the most popular player in women's basketball history prior to her injuries. The mood felt larger everywhere she performed.
They go through this season that starts basically in September. They have all their preseason practices, games. She does the tournament, gets to the national championship game. And then, like, within a month,
they misled her and said, you know what, we're going to let you train. We're going to let you try to ramp up, even though we're going to rule you out anyway. No matter how close you get, we're going to rule you out anyway. And they were like apparently trying to encourage Caitlin to try to come back while also not letting her play.
She's playing in real WNBA games. There's no real off season for her. But the thing I wanted to bring up was just, I don't want to call it hatred, but there's...
We had to actually talk about this because if the Indiana Fever it seems like they knew they weren't going to let Caitlin Clark come back. So with knowing you're not going to let Caitlin Clark come back, you realistically know you're probably not going to do anything in the playoffs.
Every arena she visited experienced a spike in ticket sales, and Indiana games were shown on the national schedule many times a week. She wasn't your typical rookie. She transformed the Fever games into a national occasion. Everything that had been building came tumbling down when the announcement was made. It doesn't even qualify as a dip because what transpired appeared more like the ground giving way. The TV figures were nearly unrecognizable immediately following Clark's departure. Her team's viewership dropped from over 1 million to a small percentage. From 1.26 million people who watched. Suddenly, just about 400,000 people were watching the Fever's games. Casual attrition is not what that is. It's a meltdown. What's even more striking is that not just Indiana fans lost interest. The league-wide broadcast's viewership was almost halved. Consider that. Almost overnight, half of the whole basketball crowd vanished. It demonstrates that there was more than one city involved. Once Clark was gone, the entire country started to turn away. Additionally, you can observe the similar freefall in ticket costs. When she was set to perform in Chicago, the city went into overdrive, with average resale prices skyrocketing past $80. However, seats were available for just $25 once it was announced that Clark would not be suiting up. Washington was more vicious than that. For just $1, you may enter a professional basketball game. That demand curve is unhealthy. Collapse is what that is. Suddenly, a crowd that was willing to pay top dollar to see a rookie treated the games without her as though they were completely worthless.
Like a dislike or vitriol coming her way towards older players. And look, I think we all experienced that to some degree when we first got in the NBA.
For sure.
Your opponents are not wrapping their arms around you.
So the smart thing would be to tank and get a good draft pick. But I don't believe this front office is incompetent. An incompetent front office gets to the playoffs, guaranteed loses in the first, guaranteed first round loss, gets to the playoffs.
I was the cocky white kid from Duke, right? You know, I feel like sometimes my teammates hated me. How did you process that? How did you go through that at a young age, coming into the NBA?
Rather than tanking. That's what an incompetent front office does. That's what the Chicago Bulls do. But like the Miami Heat, when people are saying the Miami Heat refuse to tank, the Miami Heat sometimes make the playoffs and people think they should tank and they fuck about and make the finals.
Consider the ripple effect now. To accommodate all of those additional fans, Fever recently renovated their arenas. Products bearing Clark's name were flying off the shelves. There were sponsors waiting expressly to sign on with her. When that type of momentum is lost, the investments not only slow down but also begin to appear like massive overreach. Building your marketing around your star is one thing, but focusing all of your growth strategy on one player and keeping them healthy throughout the season is quite another. This is the most outrageous part. Clark did more than increase awareness of Indiana. No other WNBA player has routinely generated national sports coverage as she did. ESPN forced her to showcase plays on a daily basis. She received extensive coverage from NBA TV, and the WNBA was suddenly regarded as a front-page sport by mainstream media. The spotlight diminished on all platforms when one player was removed from the equation. One franchise was not the only one affected. She had been representing the league as a whole in the larger sports discourse. It raises the possibility that the NFL's ratings won't plummet if Mahomes is absent on a Sunday. Even though the NBA might lose a plot point if LeBron doesn't play, viewers will still pay attention. A 70% decline in ratings with Clark. That is hardly the typical effect of a superstar. The league is kept relevant by that life support system. Not only was he valuable, the air supply was in her grasp. Let's also not overlook how this occurred.
Where the people could have been your teammates, could have been the people you're competing against. They weren't celebrating you.
No, not at all.
They wanted to kick your ass.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, my teammates for sure.
Get in as a low seed instead of tanking, but you always give them like a puncher's chance, like a Milwaukee, or like, I'm trying to think, years ago, Boston, when Boston got in on the play-in.
There's video evidence of my teammates basically saying like, he's not ready, or there's somebody playing his position, or we're not putting all our faith in the 18-year-old kid, or, you know, all this hype, we've been here, all this, you know, so.
After making the conference finals the year before, Miami, when they made the finals off the play-in, there's a load of these teams that are like on the bubble that you're like, in the NBA, they have a chance. When the Warriors made it through in the play-in one year.
She wasn't shielded by officials the way a league shields its best players. She was the target of almost 17% of all egregious fouls this year. That is a number that you cannot ignore. Fans witnessed it. It was deemed risky by analysts. Furthermore, it was evident that the WNBA had failed to safeguard its main draw. This wasn't a chance occurrence. People think it could have been avoided. Rather, the player who represented their future was benched. Therefore, there was no spark when Clark declared that she was done for the season. It completely went out. Sponsorships, tickets, merchandising, and ratings all failed. It feels like something that was based almost entirely on one young star has exposed what once appeared to be organic growth. All those gains vanished in a few days without her? And thus raises the question that is about to arise. When one player creates or breaks the entire product, can a professional league still exist? Or does the WNBA need to reconsider how it plans for the future in light of this moment? The bottom line is as follows. Caitlin Clark going down didn't just finish up a season. It made clear the amount of pressure the WNBA placed on one individual. She was credited with every success the league had, including increases in attendance, ratings, and buzz. Without that fulcrum, things quickly fell apart. And that's the true issue. This cycle will continue until the league defends athletes like her and produces a number of celebrities that the public will pay to see. What do you think, then? Does the WNBA need a wake-up call?